Hey everybody, this is Andy, aka Love Retro BTW, across Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I do a podcast every Saturday called Cafe BTW, a morning gaming podcast, a retrospective look at the wonderful world of retro gaming, from interviews to guests. Join us every Saturday, like a Saturday morning cartoon, starting at 8 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern. Also, if you're on Twitter, please join the brand new retro gaming community, a place to share, connect, and show your love for the retro gaming community. All the links are down below. And remember, enjoy the Gamers Week podcast.
This time on Gamers Week podcast, McDonald's locations in mainland China are currently selling an exclusive Tetris handheld in the shape of a chicken McNugget. Yes, you read that correctly. This is an actual handheld gaming device in the shape of a chicken nugget that plays Tetris.
I'm just waiting for somebody to get it and then see if they can play Doom on it.
See, and here I was waiting for somebody to get it and then show up at like the classic Tetris World Championship.
Yes! Hyper tapping on a McNugget.
Because when we are apart, I feel it too.
It's like, I wasn't going to do the whole thing.
I think if you start singing in sync, you have to finish it. That's like a rule somewhere.
What? I got to know more about this rule.
It's the same with Backstreet Boys. If I start off with, you got to keep going.
My fire.
The one.
Desire.
Believe.
When I say
Donnie likes it that way.
Tell me why.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes.
I just am picturing you two back in the 90s among the throngs of screaming teenage girls going, oh my God, JC looked at me.
Interestingly enough, I was not a public fan of the Backstreet Boys.
You were a closet fan of the Backstreet Boys?
I was a closet fan of the Backstreet Boys. I was a closet fan of like gangster rap. Yeah.
That's not something you need to be a closet fan of, sir.
I agree, but I was a punk kid, and punk and rap were kind of at odds with each other.
Were they really?
At least in my high school.
This is not a feud that I was aware of.
Yeah.
It's like rock versus rap. We're like, oh, I don't like that rap crap, you know?
The rap crap. Okay.
I have heard my dad say that exact phrase so many times.
You're her dad.
I'm the Benjamin Button.
All right, you guys ready?
I think I am.
I was born ready.
I don't think that's true because you were 5 minutes late.
Sick burn.
I was doing things.
Oh, I'm sure you were doing things.
I'm not going to say.
All right. Welcome to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 74, and today is Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. My name is Blue Williams, and I'll be your host for this evening, but I am not alone. As usual, I have my two fine co-hosts with me. Size does matter to my first co-host, who wants 50 inches or nothing. And no, we're not talking about televisions.
You're not going to explain that? You're just going to leave it hanging out there?
Yes, exactly.
Love it.
And my second co-host can be found in the gym, where he's working to get those Rob Liefeld Captain America gains.
All proportionate.
Please say hello to Ryan Payne, aka Retro Game Brews, and the one and only Donnie G.
Okay, 50-inch pants. They're
He
pants.
can't stand it. He can't stand it.
They're pants, people, I swear.
So we're talking waist size, or do you want to get more specific?
Leg circumference. They were kickwear. The Jenkos on crack.
Which is funny. That's what I'm trying to achieve in the gym. 50-inch leg size.
And you have to make sure to get like the left pack has to be way big or like stick out way farther.
Oh, God. I do like maybe a couple squats. I'm just like, it's so hard.
All right, let's move on to our reviews, reactions, and requests. Green Metal Box said, I loved my Tiger handhelds. More importantly, though, I loved my Konami Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles LCD handheld.
Yes.
My brother had the Talk Boy and used it just like in the commercial, Little Punk.
That Ninja Turtles LCD one was mint.
Yes, and they looked so much cooler than the Tiger handheld ones, where they were
Absolutely.
like long and they had all the graphics on it.
Was it 50 inches long? Got him.
Firehawk22 said, finished the cast and loved it. Didn't win the giveaway, but did score a good laugh and entertainment.
Yes.
And the Whistler said, wondered if y'all were going to mention Furbies. I got mine after watching Gremlins as a small child. My Furby might have met an untimely demise for no reason. Definitely not a movie that spooked me. But now I'm wanting to know your thoughts on Tamagotchis and Gigapets.
I actually did have a Tamagotchi back in the day. Played it a lot. Loved that thing. And then eventually it was hanging from my doorknob. So every time you would open the door, the battery on the back of it wasn't quite hooked in. But every time you would open, it would activate. It would turn on for 2 seconds, like beep, and then die.
It would probably turn on beep, kill me, and then die.
And now it's time for the...
Hello, listeners. Hello, trolls. Here is this week's important poll. Poll is very darn divisive. I can't pick just one because I'm indecisive. Yes, I'll listen to Gamers Week, because Donnie's fanny packs are on fleek.
Oh, fleek.
If you remember, we included other. So if we forgot, just go and cry to your mother. Let me say this. To be fair, making new questions is quite the task. We've been running out of good to ask. You may know me as RGB. No one understands you when you're 23. I'm not that young. I was lying. And I'm prone to fits of super self-denying. Next is Blue. She's a writer. Make a hair joke. And she's a fighter. She likes ranch over blue cheese. And wishes daily that this was still the 90s. Then there's Donnie. G retro. His sexuality is that of Metro.
Hey!
He likes 90s reggae rap. And don't get him started on Sega CD's Night Trap. Donnie and Blue hate my questions. They hardly ever give me suggestions. I still love them, I suppose. Even though I draw devil horns on their photos. Time has come to make your vote. Like and retweet to promote. This song is out of control. Now it's time for the very important poll.
Wow.
Bravo, sir.
There was a lot of effort put into that.
Yes,
Definitely.
there was.
All right, so every Monday on Twitter, we post our VIP or very important poll. If you would like to participate, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC. Question for this week was, what is the most heavy metal soundtrack in retro gaming? Coming in third place was Lightning Force with 7.5% of the vote. Next up was Beavis and Butthead at 10.5% of the vote. And taking this one unanimously, I think this is the highest that we've ever seen.
Yeah, this is the most lopsided poll ever.
Ever. Which is Doom, taking it 70.7% of the vote. But 11% of you said others, so let's take a look at some of the comments from the poll. Starting with JT Happy. Of those choices, Doom, but also Lords of Thunder or Gates of Thunder on the TurboGrafx 16/PC Engine CD were pretty rockin'. Chairman Meow7 said, amusingly, Castlevania Harmony of Despair has got to be up there. The entire soundtrack is basically metal renditions of classic Castlevania songs. Malice Fire said, I remember the old Guilty Gear X on the Dreamcast sounded pretty metal back in the day. Arantor said, I mean, Doom is iconic, but we can't not talk about Turrican. And then finally, Isaiah Frias 11 says, if you didn't say Doom, then you're lying. All right. So taking a look at our choices for the week, Donnie, what'd you go with?
I love Lightning Force. That is, to me, like when I first heard that, I was like, wow. I was blown away at how heavy metal this sounded. Doom, don't really remember the soundtrack, so I can't say that it was like I know
Really?
my card's gonna get pulled. Yeah, I don't really remember it.
They're gonna be knocking on your door for the card later tonight.
Hopefully they don't know where I live. But one that kind of gets to me is the game Brutal Legend. I don't know if you remember the game. It's one with Jack Black. Mm-hmm. That one did have a lot of heavy metal songs by actual bands like Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and Megadeth. So Brutal Legend was my pick this week, even though I wanted to go with Lightning Force with a strong backup of Doom, even though I'll go with the masses and I don't remember the soundtrack.
Just straight peer pressure, huh?
Yeah, I'm a poser this week. I apologize.
Nice. Blue, what about you?
I mean, it's got to be Doom, right? There's a reason why this is the most lopsided poll we've ever seen. When you put it together with the gameplay and with the attitude of the game, the ambiance of the setting and the metal soundtrack, it was just so memorable. And there's no way that anything else could really ever top it.
I think that's fair. That like first song when it comes on, I think is something that people can recognize years later. You haven't played the game in forever. As soon as you hear that song come on, it's like, boom, that's it. I'm in it. I know exactly what it is. And it is pretty darn metal. That's for sure.
So how did you vote, Ryan?
So if I had to pick one, the choice on the poll for Lightning Force has to be my choice. That is just so rockin'. There is, bass to it. It fits the motif of the game as well, and it creates this sense of action and excitement. I just really, really enjoy it. So I think I'm going to go with Lightning Force. I've always said that the soundtrack is probably one of the best on the Genesis anyway. Yeah. And the fact that it's metal certainly makes it freaking awesome.
All right, let's move on to our patron shoutouts.
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. Rai's Secret Best Friend, Mega Retro Man, Gamma Troy, Michael LeKite, Emo-esque, Bill Tucker, The Real Retro Game Brews, Fruitcake's #1 Stand, Ducks with thick thighs. What's up with Donnie's mic? How TF is RGB going to follow Blue and Donnie's last very important polls? I was banished to the R zone one time. Surely someone has figured out who is doing this by now. And sorry for calling you Shirley. Wizard of Zardoz. Pops and Doug Nut. Retro Blast Pat. Great Siaman 81. BNT Zilligai. Geek with That. Johnny Boombots. Crunchy Kong. Sheriff Snacks. Frank Grande. Love Retro BTW. Steven Sand. Ramboski. Terry Canair. Ducks in Disguise. Jim and Colleen. Games with Coffee. Hybrid Divide. You Fall Before Me. JVPGH. The Red Ox PDX family, including Shannon and Luke. Zach Huge Thanks. Number 1 Blue Sick Voice Fan. Random Retro Dude. And Princess Kitty Mew Mew. If you like what you hear today, and we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
All right, let's move on to our headline segment. Our headlines are proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob and Hugh pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Soon, they'll be doing a retrospective on the 2005 movie Doom, starring Carl Urban and The Rock. So a rewatch may be in order if, like me, you haven't seen it since it came out in theaters. Visit them at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes.
Feel bad for anybody who watched that in the theaters.
Actually, when we watched it in the theater, the fire alarm went off like the last 10 minutes of the movie. There wasn't a fire. It was like some sort of malfunction, but they had to evacuate everybody. So on your way out, like they were handing out free passes to come back and see it again.
Oh, nice.
But instead of leaving, we just circled around and snuck back into the theater and watched the last 10 minutes and then kept our free passes and then watched something else.
Nice.
You're rebels.
Well done.
So how did you not get caught?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. Well, my hat's off to you.
We're like ninjas.
Theater ninjas.
Very specific type of ninja.
Yes, you have to be. Like there's sewing ninjas and
Right.
dog walking ninjas and all that stuff.
Right. You have to respect our clan, okay?
All right. First up from IGN, Mortal Kombat 12 revealed as Mortal Kombat 1. Warner Brother Games and NetherRealm Studios have officially revealed that a rebooted Mortal Kombat 1 will arrive on September 19th for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The game will introduce a reborn Mortal Kombat universe that has been created by the fire god Liu Kang, featuring reimagined versions of iconic characters as they have never been seen before, along with a new fighting system, game modes, bone-crushing finishing moves, and more, reads a post on the website. These characters so far include Liu Kang, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Kung Lao, Kitana, Melina, Shang Tsung, Johnny Cage, and many more. NetherRealm has confirmed these characters will feature in a new story mode, but has yet to reveal which other game modes will feature in Mortal Kombat 1. A beta will take place in August for those who pre-order any version of the game on the PS5 and Xbox Series, while post-launch NetherRealm will add crossplay and cross-progression. A $249.99 collector's edition with a K will be available for the PS5 and Xbox Series that includes a 16.5-inch Liu Kang sculpture, 3 exclusive art prints, and a steel case, plus other in-game content. Fans have been eagerly awaiting the game since NetherRealm revealed that it was working on a new project as of July 2021 after ending support on Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat 11 launched way back in 2019, marking a solid 4-year wait for fans.
Oh, poor babies. 4 whole years?
Wah.
Let's talk about the 6 years that went between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Hollow Knight was back in 2017, and we are still waiting breathlessly for Silk Song. And then let's go even farther back. We're on year 9 of Mario Kart 8, okay? So,
hey, but we have gotten new tracks, have we not?
we have gotten new tracks, just like Mortal Kombat always gets new combat packs. So don't whine to me about your 4-year wait for your new game.
So I was doing some research into this, and one of the things that they announced on the website is this concept called cameo fighters. Have you guys heard this?
No.
No, but I assume that they'll do anything they can to squeeze in more K words.
Right, exactly, because it is cameo with a K. Well done.
Yep.
So essentially what the trailer talked about, you have the choice to team up or to go to war, that kind of thing. And what it's alluding to is this concept called cameo fighters. They haven't given a whole lot of detail about what that means, but it sounds like, based off of the website, that certain characters will be mainline characters and certain characters will be what they call cameo characters. A lot of speculation as to what that means. My guess is that it's probably a assist character that you can call on to do certain moves, kind of like Dragon Ball Fighters.
Or Tekken Tag.
Or Tekken Tag, there you go, perfect. They have certain things that they can do to help you out in the gameplay. Maybe even help out with fatalities and brutalities and all that good stuff too. So we'll see, I guess. But that's a huge change to the fighting style that Mortal Kombat has been for 11 iterations now. And they're looking to change things around.
Mortal Kombat has been pretty much cut and dry with its fighting system, except for Mortal Kombat 4. When they try to introduce the whole 3D thing and they try to make it more like Tekken, or it's either Tekken or Virtual Fighter, where you could actually, change the viewpoint of the screen, made it all 3D, and I freaking hated it. And I think a lot of fans hated it too, and that's why they went back to the staple Mortal Kombat fighting system, which we've all know and love. Now, they've introduced like the bone-crushing things, the X-ray damage and stuff like that. That is great. It's a great addition to it. This almost seems, like you said, Tekken Tag Tournament or Marvel versus Capcom, where you tag in a fighter and stuff like that. And I don't know. I don't know how well this is going to work.
It's a fine line to walk, right? After 11 entries in the series, you could argue that it does need something new, something freshening up.
Yes.
But if you change too much, the hardcore fan base won't like it. So I don't envy them this challenge. And I think the fact that they are rebooting the series, what it sounds like to me is they kind of realize that they just run out of material for this series. The stories have been told, they've written themselves into corners and jumped all kinds of sharks. But I think the fact that they are doing this, changing up the fighting style and completely resetting the story, it says a lot. It says that there's still quite a bit of hunger for this series, but that also it just needs something different.
But is this going to be the new staple going forward? Like we've seen with movies where, let's just create something that gives us a new timeline. And now we've got an all new marketing scheme that we can pump out 5 more games based on this timeline. And okay, guess what? Liu Kang screwed up again. And now we have this other timeline. And here you go. It's a fresh reboot with another $250 collector's edition with a K.
To be fair. How long have comic books been doing that?
I was just about to say the same thing.
See, that's the thing. But comic books are a hell of a lot cheaper than a $79 video game.
True. You also release a lot more comic books than you do $70 video games.
Yes, that's true. You can pump those out really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, though, Mortal Kombat, they experimented a few times, like Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, where it was like a side scroller.
And that worked so well.
Right, but then they righted the ship and then they were back to normal stuff. So maybe this is one of those experiments. And they didn't lose a whole lot of player base with that awful game.
True. If this doesn't jive with the fans, they will drop it and go right back to what has been making them money.
And let's talk for a second about this $250 collector's edition. Mm-hmm. It's got a steel case, a collector's book, art prints, and a statue of Liu Kang that's 16 inches tall.
16 and a half.
So, okay, you're right. The half inch counts. Whenever you're measuring, every inch, every half inch counts. It definitely counts. But let's see, measure 8 inches. It's about that. And then 16. Okay.
Not going to ask about your math.
Next up from comicbook.com, surprise Nintendo 3DS update targets hacks, pirated games. With the shutting down of the Nintendo 3DS eShop, many probably assumed that the company would stop issuing patches for the system. After all, now that users can no longer access the online store, the need for stability updates is relatively minimal. That said, Nintendo has pushed one such update through on the 3DS, and many players think that it's targeting hacks and pirated games. This update seems pretty minimal if you read Nintendo's official patch notes. Those simply say that the update improved system stability and convenience. However, several users have been letting everyone know that the update essentially breaks several tools hackers are using to get pirated games onto the platform. If you already have some of those programs on your 3DS, you're fine to update, but there doesn't really seem to be much of a reason to do so. Again, protecting IP is a priority for every company, but Nintendo's move here seriously hurts preservation efforts. Obviously, it's their system, so they can do what they want. But this only highlights why so many people wanted the store to either stay open or for Nintendo to do something on its own to preserve these libraries. At this point, your only recourse for picking up some of the rarer games is to use hacks or go through scalpers. And if you want some of the digital-only titles, you don't have any options besides pirating them. Hopefully, this move signifies that Nintendo has larger plans for the future. If the company is completely taking away access, you would like to see them give another way for players to download these old games. That said, this is Nintendo we're talking about. They've been slow-rolling the distribution of old games on Nintendo Switch for a while now, so expecting them to speed things up will likely only end in disappointment. This is exactly Nintendo's MO.
It is. You're right.
They don't care about video game preservation, and then they try to lock it down to where they control everything. So they take something away from the users, right? That people were actually willing to spend money on. They saw this whenever they said, we're going to shut the eShop down. People flock to start downloading games. What happens when you take that away?
Well, they figured out what happens when you take it away, and that's why they released this patch. I mean, you're right in that Nintendo has always been the kind of company that would rather kill a game than let somebody play it for free. If we're not selling it, then nobody gets it. That is how they operate. So they released this patch, and it does kind of seem like a low blow in that this is not a system you're supporting anymore. So why do you care?
I mean, I guess maybe the MO is, well, we want you to buy new stuff and not play the old stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's not affecting their business model. Let's be honest.
Right.
I mean, it's not affecting their business model immediately. They'll find some way to make money from this old library when people are really clamoring for it. But for now, it's back to the Disney Vault strategy.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
It boggles my mind too. Like, why would you want to take that joy away from people who love playing something that you've put out, or something that was out on a system that you put out 40 years ago? Jesus, 40. Is that correct? 40 years ago?
Don't do the math. It hurts.
All right. I'm sorry. And now my back hurts. Why wouldn't you want them to just sit there and be in your corner as opposed to just shutting all that access down and saying, nope, we don't care about that. You know, that's old Nintendo. We don't care about old Nintendo. We want you to love and buy stuff from new Nintendo. That's what we want.
And that's part of it, right? The less attention you pay to their old systems, the less accessible they make their old systems and old games, the more you're going to be driven to go to new Nintendo and buy new Nintendo.
I don't know.
I think aside from the retro gaming community, people don't want old stuff as a general rule. They want new stuff.
It's like, did you realize who you're talking to here?
All right.
I said aside. Remember what I said at the beginning, aside from the retro gaming community.
But people are also, they don't want to have to go out there. They want durability. They want reliability. So if your Switch breaks, are you really wanting to go out there and spend another $300 on a new Switch? I know I won't. I want something that's going to last me a long time. And the Super Nintendos and the Nintendos did just that.
They've sold a lot of Switches.
Again, I don't like your logic.
All right, next up from Retro Dodo, McDonald's in China has an exclusive Tetris handheld. McDonald's locations in mainland China are currently selling an exclusive Tetris handheld in the shape of a chicken McNugget. Yes, you read that correctly. This is an actual handheld gaming device in the shape of a chicken nugget that plays Tetris.
Oh my God.
After a bit of translation on the McDonald's China website, I found that this is in celebration of the 40th anniversary of the chicken nugget. But why Tetris? That part is unclear, but I'm also not exactly upset about it. As unusual as it all sounds, you know for a fact that we immediately need this. The device features an LCD screen with no backlight, much like an original Game Boy, the Playdate, and other budget game devices. The button configuration is quite unique and does seem to be made specifically to play Tetris. There is a left, right, down, hard drop, and a single rotate action button, which means the pieces can only rotate in one direction. There is actually a McDonald's logo built into the game, so we know that this was something really developed with their cooperation in some form. The Chicken Nugget handheld comes in a box that looks exactly like the one you'd get your real chicken nuggets in. Inside the box is your handheld and a cool carrying bag for it. There's also a set of stickers, so you can customize your new handheld. As far as we can tell, these handhelds are a mainland China exclusive. There has been no mention of them coming to any other parts of Asia or to the West. The Chicken Nugget handhelds launched May 24th and were sold out all over China. They only cost the equivalent of about $425 US and are already appearing on sites like eBay for much more.
Okay. Tetris McNugget. Looking on eBay, I don't see a Tetris McNugget.
The fact you had to type in Tetris McNugget.
I mean, right?
But that sucks because I really would like one of these.
Of course. While you were reading the article, my thoughts were spinning. I'm like, okay, I'll need to go check eBay to see if those are up there. I need to go check to see if I can, if they're sold out all over China. No, we're not getting them here.
No.
I'm just waiting for somebody to get it and then see if they can play Doom on it.
See, and here I was waiting for somebody to get it and then show up at like the classic Tetris World Championship.
Yes! Hyper tapping on a McNugget.
I kind of wish they would still do this because I mean they've done stuff like this in the past, like Pepsi Invaders, and partnering with other brands and stuff has been a big part of video game history. So kind of cool that they're doing this. I want one so bad. I have a friend who lives in China, so I might hit them up. Be like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Have them get as many as they can. Send them over here to you, and you could make easy like a couple $100 each.
Or we could do it as a giveaway and get 4 million listens.
Yes.
No, because can you just tell me what time in the podcast the giveaway is?
Yeah, can we have the timestamp of when the giveaway is? We just want your free stuff. We don't want to actually listen to your show.
Right. I'm just now seeing the Tetris McNugget. And, oh, God, it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
It's art!
Right? Like, I would have a hard time not actually dunking this in some sauce and some Szechuan sauce and taking a bite out of it. Szechuan sauce. It looks that great.
Get the only person to die from eating a Tetris McNugget.
I swear to God, there will be somebody who eats one of these things, sues McDonald's, and says, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't eat it. It looks exactly like a McNugget.
Yeah, it did not specify that the handheld was not made of actual McNugget.
Right. And this is why our race will not survive.
We're not going to make it. Humans, I mean.
Nope.
What is that from?
Terminator 2.
That's right. Okay. Sorry.
Ha!
Sorry. I recognized it was from a movie, okay?
I said a quote and you didn't recognize it. How does it make you feel?
You know, if you gave me enough time, I would have come up with it. I'm pretty sure.
All right, let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
All right, first up is Convergence, a League of Legends story. PS5, Xbox Series X and S. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Traverse the sprawling city of Zaun as Echo, a young inventor with a device to manipulate time. In this story-driven action platformer, collect parts, craft gadgets, and unlock abilities. Then rewind time to adapt your approach to every new challenge. Encounter League of Legends champions like you've never seen them before. Unlock new abilities and face rivals in a series of explosive battles to learn who's with you and who's against you. Miasma Chronicles, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC. For the creation of Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden comes a beautifully crafted tactical adventure you won't forget. embark on a quest across the post-apocalyptic wasteland torn apart by a savage force known as Miasma. Real-time exploration gameplay meets tactical turn-based combat with RPG elements, explore rich, beautiful environments, meeting outlandish characters, upgradable weapons, and abilities give you your hero the edge in combat. And last up, Lord of the Rings, Gollum. PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. An official adaptation based off the literary works of J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings Gollum is an action-adventure game that takes place parallel to the events described in The Fellowship of the Ring. Play as Gollum on his quest to retrieve his precious and find out how he outwitted the most powerful characters in Middle-earth. Tortured by his split personality, he can be vicious and wicked as Gollum, yet friendly and cautious as Smeagol. It's up to you to decide which your personalities will triumph in difficult moral choices that will dictate the future of your precarious alliances. So taking a look at these three. Donnie, what are we going with this week?
Gollum. That's my pick. Lord of the Rings Gollum. I am a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm not a super fan like you are. You know, the books are, they put me to sleep. I don't really get into any of the games that they've ever released for the Lord of the Rings, but this one looks promising. If they can really, really hit a bullseye on the gameplay, I'm sure this game will be very fun to play. Miasma Chronicles doesn't look great to me. And League of Legends, sorry, not my cup of tea. No thanks.
Mm-hmm. Blue, what about you?
Well, I'm not a League of Legends person, but I actually really liked the look of this game. I thought the art looked great. It looked bright and colorful and fun, and I do love action platformers. Plus, if you're manipulating time, that says to me like there's likely some puzzle elements. So puzzle action platformer, right up my alley. I'd be willing to look a little deeper into that and see if you can still enjoy it not being a League of Legends person. Miasma Chronicles... You know, on paper, it sounds better than when I actually watched the trailer. When I watched the trailer, it looked like 1,000 other games I've seen before. And the tone of it seemed kind of weird. Like it was trying to be like really cheeky and witty and funny. But I don't know. It just wasn't vibing, wasn't showing up for me. And that brings us down to Lord of the Rings Gollum. This is a game I'm really curious about. I am not a Lord of the Rings super fan. You start talking about ages and I'm going to zone out. I did read the books as a kid. I did enjoy them, but that's about as far as it goes for me. I am interested to see how they can make Gollum be a protagonist because he's such a weird character. He's not a character that like you can kind of empathize with him, but like at a distance because he's just so strange. I'm interested to see if people will really be able to get into the skin of Gollum and be able to play as Gollum and embrace that morality system and his weird teeth and all of that. So I don't necessarily want to play this, but I'm interested to see what it's about.
I will make a slight update on my choice. I did bypass a League of Legends story convergence simply because it had the term a League of Legends in there. I thought it was going to be a strategy game. I looked at some of the screenshots that it's an action platformer. I might end up checking this one out. That's all I'm going to say.
Okie doke.
Ryan, what about your choice for this week?
So I'll start off with Convergence, League of Legends story. Actually, when I saw this, I was like, wow, this is right up Blue's alley. I'm willing to bet she's going to like this one.
You get me.
But knowing me, that's definitely not up my alley. So, I mean, play it, Blue. Let me know how it is. Then I'll redecide whether or not I want to give this one a shot. But
Roger that. But I don't see you playing platformers ever, so probably not going to recommend it for you.
There we go. Miasma Chronicles, I agree. It's tactical, it's turn-based combat with RPG elements, it's outlandish characters and upgradable weapons. Like, if you had to write a description that would have resonated with me, that's all the things that you could include. But to your point, it just doesn't look that interesting. It seems mid, as the kids would say.
Is that what the children say these days?
Mm-hmm. But Lord of the Rings Gollum is a unique idea. Gollum in the books, of course, he's kind of a metaphor, right, for us as human beings having two different personalities. Often we have to make decisions based off of our emotions versus our more logical brain, our, more aggressive versus our more empathetic brain. So he's an interesting character in that book because he represents that dichotomy, which I like the idea that you have a choice, right? It's not just, it reminds me of like Fable, right? You can decide to be evil or you can decide to be good, and that will dictate how the story goes. And that's what it sounds like with this. So it would be a great way to experience a character that is covered a lot in the books, but there are gaps in his history, and now you get to play them out the way you would want to. So totally in for this one. Probably going to pick it up for PC.
You're not going to pick it up for Stadia? But
All right, let's move on to our main topic for the week.
From digital trends, everything announced at the May 2023 PlayStation Showcase. The flurry of summer gaming showcases is finally upon us, and Sony was the one to start things off. After a 20-month wait and several smaller presentations, we finally got another PlayStation Showcase where we saw what's next for first-party, third-party, and indie games on the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation VR2. This was definitely the most important PlayStation live stream to happen in a long time, but it was a densely packed show, so you might have missed out on some of its announcements. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go over every title covered in the showcase, so here are the highlights.
All right, first up, Haven Studios, a PlayStation-owned developer founded by Ubisoft, EA, and Stadia alumnus Jade Raymond, unveiled its first game to kick off the showcase. It's called Fair Games.
Fair game $?
Fair game $. So I don't know if that's meant to be fair games or whatever. It's a PvPvE heist game where players compete to steal from the rich. It does not have a release window, but Haven Studios detailed its vision for the title on PlayStation blog and confirmed Fair Games is coming to both PS5 and PC.
If you need clarification on that, you need to ask $?
All right, next up is Square Enix showed up to reveal a new multiplayer game called Foam Stars, which looks like a Splatoon-inspired third-person shooter where players try to spread foam around an area while fighting each other. Foam laydown also impacts how players can move around the map during these 4v4 matches. Foam Stars is coming to PS4 and PS5.
That sounds a lot like some sleepovers I've had. Konami has revealed its plan. Konami has revealed its plan to revive the Metal Gear series with a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, which is considered by many to be the best entry in the series. The reveal trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a bit of a misdirect, as it focuses on a lot of animals attacking each other before revealing Snake. Obviously, it does not appear that Hideo Kojima is involved in the project, but Konami promises that the remake will bring unprecedented new graphics, immersive stealth action gameplay, and sounds to its riveting story. The Snake Eater remake does not have a release date, but Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 will come out this fall and features ports of the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games. Yes!
So it is Delta. That's like official now because I saw it. It's the symbol for Delta, but I was like, is that like an upside down 5 maybe?
Metal Gear Solid Triangle. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Bungie, which was acquired by PlayStation last year, revealed that it will be reviving its Marathon series. It's being rebooted as a sci-fi PvP extraction shooter where players will compete for survival, riches, and renown in a world of evolving persistent zones where any run can lead to greatness, according to the game's website. It is in development for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and will have full crossplay and cross-save support when it does.
Next up is Marvel's Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac Games finally made its grand return at this PlayStation showcase with an extensive gameplay reveal. Its segment began with Kraven killing a hunter who he deemed unworthy before learning of all of the heroes in New York. We then cut to New York City 6 months later, where the game tasked players with switching between a symbiote suit-wearing Spider-Man and Miles Morales as they fight several enemies who are pursuing the Lizard. The segment ends with Miles getting suspicious of Peter's personality shift. Sadly, there is no release date revealed during the show, so Marvel's Spider-Man 2 still only has a vague fall 2023 release window.
PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan popped up toward the end of the showcase to reveal 2 new pieces of technology. We will launch a dedicated device that enables you to stream any game from your PS5 console using remote play over Wi-Fi, said Ryan. Internally known as Project Q, it has an 8-inch HD screen and all of the buttons, and features of the DualSense wireless controller. More specifically, it'll have an LCD screen running games at up to 1080p and 60 frames per second over Wi-Fi, according to a Sony press release, and will feature both the adaptive triggers and haptic feedback of the DualSense. The Q handheld is set to launch later this year, though Sony didn't say exactly when or how much the new device might cost. According to the fine print at the bottom of the Sony's presentation, games you play on the Q must be installed on a PlayStation 5 console itself. It's apparently designed as a companion for your own PS5, not something that would play games natively like a Steam Deck or phone or even stream them from the cloud. Sony is also working on wireless PlayStation-themed earbuds.
And last up is the best of the rest. Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean was unveiled ahead of its 2024 release. Assassin's Creed Mirage gameplay was finally revealed, and it looks more in line with the action and parkour from the series' early titles. We also learned that it will release on October 12th. Alan Wake 2 got a new trailer that featured a little bit of gameplay and revealed the long-awaited sequel's October 17 release date. It will reportedly be a digital-only release in order to keep the game's price down. Phantom Blade Zero, a new third-person slasher from Chinese developer S-Game, got a lengthy reveal trailer that also showcased a lot of gameplay. So, this was a lot that they talked about. There was a ton more games that we didn't even have time to go over here, or we'd be here all night. But any thoughts at all?
Before I jump into that, one of the things I think has been interesting about the reaction to this online is that it's been really divisive.
As is every showcase.
Sure,
everyone
fair,
ever does.
Fair. And you know what? The thing is, Sony hasn't really done a showcase in like 2 years? You know, they've been doing like state of play and stuff, but they haven't really done a showcase. So I think that maybe the expectation was a little higher than what was delivered, but there seems to be some people who are just so gung-ho about it and some people who absolutely felt like it was complete dog shit.
Let me guess, those are Switch fans or Xbox fans?
Probably.
Well, and I will say the showcase began, and for the first several, I was like, are these going to be all squad v squad games?
Right.
Are they all going to be co-op? Like, is there anything left for us single players? And then they kind of went into a few others, but they definitely hit that vibe the first several.
I think I counted the first 3 or 4 were first person games of some variety. It's like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now.
You get a first-person shooter. You get a first-person shooter.
Right. That is what's hot. Been hot the last several years. So
I think I can address for the first game the 900-pound gorilla in the room that people are expecting me to talk about, which is, of course, Foam Stars, right?
Yep.
It looks like Splatoon. It plays similar to Splatoon.
Oh, yeah, it's totally Overwatch meets Splatoon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is it feels a lot like Overwatch mixed with Splatoon elements. And to me, so I would imagine you run into the same thing, Blue, where somebody comes out with a new kart racer, and it's going to be the Mario Kart killer. And
it ain't.
Yeah, right. It never quite gets there.
Uh-huh.
That's my feeling with this one, is that, yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. Don't get me wrong. If it's amazing, I'm definitely going to play it. But I don't have a whole lot of high expectations for it. And it sounds to me, too, like with that Overwatch part, is that each character has their own weapon sets, is what it seems like. So I'm wondering if you have to play as, you know, the way Overwatch is set up, where you have to play as a certain character for that entire match, and that you have certain abilities with that character. That to me is not Splatoon. Splatoon is weapons based, and you can always change those around and still keep your other equipment and do things. So I don't know if it's really up my alley just yet, but I'll check it out. I have cautious optimism.
Yeah, I think this is the first game that I've seen that, and maybe others are out there, I'm just not aware of them, but this is the first one that seems to be so brazenly taking on Splatoon.
Right.
Like face to face, I guess.
Yeah, I can't think of any other game that's even, because Splatoon was such a weird idea to begin with. And I'm surprised that anybody was like, yeah, we could do that.
Right. And Splatoon managed to put out 3 titles in this series before anybody said, hey, let's do that. So we'll see. If it takes off, then it may be like the next genre that everybody's got to do one.
Right.
What, Bubble Fighters?
Bubble Fighters, yeah.
I mean, watching the trailer, I was like, there's so many dirty jokes to make, and I'm just going to walk away.
Yep.
But do you get the feeling like PlayStation's always kind of copying off Nintendo's homework a little bit?
No.
You know?
No. They just changed it a little bit so it looks different.
Right. I mean, that goes all the way back to even like the motion controls, you know, way back during the Wii and stuff. It was almost like
no. Let's clear that air right now. PlayStation actually did the motion controls a little bit first with the 6-axis controller for the PlayStation 3. And that came out in 2006, 2007.
Actually, rebuttal?
Did it come out in 2006 before the Wii, though?
The Wii came out in 2010, didn't it?
No, it came out in 2006, I thought.
No. Do the Google.
Yes!
Boom, lawyered.
Okay, hold on. November 19th. Son of a... Okay, November 11th. So it came out the same month as the Wii. But, yeah, God... Thought I had a good argument there.
Man, the internet is so beautiful, isn't it?
I know.
It's pretty good. Some days. But I think that's a good segue into this Project Q of theirs, because we talked a few weeks ago about the rumored Sony handheld. Mm-hmm. And we talked about what we wanted from such a potential handheld and what we didn't want. And it looks like what they're giving us is exactly what we didn't want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. It's a companion to the PS5. Really, and I say companion, this thing is probably going to cost $299 at the very least. And the fact that you have to have the games installed on your PS5, mm-hmm. which, okay, that's fine. But I can't take this. I can't play this anywhere outside of my house, right?
Right.
So even if I have Wi-Fi somewhere else, is it something where I can actually connect this device up to Wi-Fi, up to their servers, and it can ping my PS5 at home and say, oh, yeah, you've got this game. Sure, you can play this. If that's possible, then great. But if I'm restricted to my home and the only place I'm going to play this thing is either in bed or on the crapper, I'm not spending $300 for it.
No, the only reason, if you can't leave your house, and it's not been specified whether or not you can leave your house. But if you can't leave your house, then the only purpose of this is like if it lets you play something from your PlayStation the same time somebody else is using it.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
I kind of doubt that's the case. I really, because it's streaming, again, directly from your PS5. So if your PS5 can run 2 games at the same time, I'm not thinking so.
And didn't they do this with like the Vita? Couldn't you play games on your Vita in your house if it was connected?
But that was like an additional ability because the Vita had its own games. You could leave the house with it and it still worked.
But the point is that it's what they had with the Vita, that it wasn't a popular option. I don't know a lot of people who used it. I may be wrong, but from my anecdotal experience, I don't know anybody who was like, this is the best thing ever. And they split the controller in half and attach it to the side. I wonder what that looks like, you know?
Yeah.
No idea. Never seen it before.
Somebody's going to break that off.
Oh my God. Easy.
This thing does not look sturdy enough with those 2 handheld controls jutting out from the LCD screen. Somebody's going to get mad and too much pressure trying to secure a holding spot and just like, snap. Oh my God. What'd you do?
Right. I mean, I think Sony has a lot of good hardware, but they're very optimistic in the amount of money that their audience is willing to spend. You got your $600 console. They want you to buy their PSVR2, which is on top of the $600 console, like we've talked before. They want you to buy the Project Q, which is on top of all of that. It's like, good Lord, how much money are you really willing to spend to play video games at home?
At least now PlayStation fans can be like, well, I guess who's playing on the crapper? Hey.
Hello.
Take that, Switch players.
We're back, baby.
So needless to say, I don't think I would, even if I owned a PlayStation 5, I probably wouldn't be picking this up.
No, I do have a PS5, and I think I'll go ahead and skip this, even though I was excited for a potential new handheld. Not going to do this. But Donnie, what do you think about Metal Gear news?
I like the Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater being revived, getting a remake. Saying that it's the most popular entry in the series, I don't really agree with that one. But yeah, that was on one of my top 3 games. My top 3 for the entire PlayStation event was Spider-Man 2, seeing Peter Parker, seeing Spider-Man in the symbiote costume, getting to play with that. That's going to make me just like, I'm going to be wet for days. Fair game, $. It looks promising. I do like the fact of being able to go against other squads to kind of duke it out. And it's just the content and the environments look right up my alley. So I got to see gameplay because there's one of our friends on Twitter who watched the presentation noticed that, it's a lot of it's just trailers. It's video game trailers that show no gameplay whatsoever. The concept is badass, but until you show me gameplay in the overall grand scheme of things, I can't pass judgment on it. The last game was Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. So Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, fair game, and Spider-Man 2.
I'll be honest, when I saw fair game and like the cyberpunk kind of thing to it, I was like, Donnie's going to like this one.
And you were correct because it looks badass.
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 games that really made me excited. One was Cat Quest, Pirates of the Caribbean, because I love the first 2 Cat Quest games. They are just silly, casual, fun little games that are full of puns, and I adore them. And yes, give me more of that, please. I will always buy those games. The other one was actually Phantom Blade Zero, which looks so cool.
Yeah.
The third-person action slasher, it looks kind of soulsy. The art looks amazing. The world building looks amazing. I know we didn't get to see a lot from it. I think there was some gameplay, but not a ton. It kind of switched back and forth between gameplay and cinematics. So I want to see more. But that is a game I definitely am going to be keeping a close eye on.
Yeah, it looked Ghost of Tsushima-esque a little bit.
Yeah, Sekiro-ish, kind of, in that vein.
Now, Cat Quest was on the list of games I don't care about.
Well, I don't care that you don't care.
I know you wouldn't care. I know you don't give a crap about that.
Blue, do you have any interest in Assassin's Creed Mirage?
They really didn't show that much. They showed a lot of what looks like classic Assassin's Creed gameplay, and that was about it. It was all the stuff that you expect that when you go in to play an Assassin's Creed game, well, yeah, of course, you're going to tightrope across the wires. You're going to do the jump into the little thing. You're going to go up and use your hidden blade behind people. It's like, well, we know that. What else is it? And that was all they showed. So I don't really know. I do like me an Assassin's Creed game, and it does look like they're trying to return to a little bit of the series' roots and what it made it popular to begin with, but it's way too early to say.
Yeah, I think it was a departure from what you saw in Valhalla.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they lost perhaps a lot of hardcore fans with Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla. So they probably want to see if they can circle back around and get those people back on the ship.
Come back. We swear. It's good again. I promise.
Yeah, right. All right, before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by the Elitist Podcast. It's a show where 3 friends and occasional guests play games about video games, including trivia, game show games, and more. Here is this week's trivia question. While Mortal Kombat gets a lot of credit for the realism, the first use of motion capture in gaming used rotoscoping in 1984 when Jordan Mechner used footage of his karate teacher to make the fighting game called Karateka.
Sure.
Say that again?
Karateka?
No, Karateka. Just the way you said it.
Karateka. Sure. But his first big hit game that used the same technique came out in 1989. Name it. Tune into the Elitist Podcast this Wednesday to hear the answer. You can find the Elitist on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll also have their links in the show notes.
So what are your guesses?
I believe I know this.
I knew it right off the bat. So
yeah, I know this one too.
Go ahead.
It's a little game called
Redacted.
Very good.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Man, I didn't play it, so
You never played
Redacted.
Oh my God.
No.
Ah.
I don't own it, so.
Actually, I don't think I own it either.
Oh.
But I played it. I think I used to own it a long time ago. It was just a very fun game. The only thing that I hated is you would be
Yep.
and you're like, whip,
Sorry, what?
whip, whip.
Man, you're like the guy from Spaceballs.
I've lost the bleeps.
beeps.
I've lost the sweeps. I've lost the creeps. The what? The
What?
what?
The what?
You know, the bleeps. The sweeps. And the creeps. It's not always lost.
See, we're going to do a movie night, and we're not actually going to play the movie. We're just going to let Donnie do it.
I would totally watch that. Oh my God.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, students, please take your seat. Welcome back to Professor Ryebread's Gaming History 101. And in this week's lesson, we're not going to do a lesson. Oh my God.
School's out for summer.
So today's going to be a little bit fun. We decided to take an opportunity to talk about our favorite games of all time. So there was some criteria for this. One of the things we wanted to do was avoid having the same genre over and over and over again. So the idea was that we're going to showcase our top 5, talk about why we love them, but also they had to be different genres. So made it a little bit tougher. Now, these are our opinions. So if it's not your opinion, too bad.
These are our favorite games.
It's not the best. We didn't say that. These are our favorite games. All right. So why don't we go ahead and start off with number 5. So Blue, do you want to start us off?
My number 5 game is Final Fantasy X. So that takes my RPG slot.
Wow. Big hitter right off the bat.
Big hitter right off the bat. Like, as far as turn-based RPGs, this is my favorite, hands down. But I could have ranked it higher on the list, except for it's not a great replay, in my opinion, because of so much grinding and because of the friggin' there's Blitzball, there's the damn Chocobo racing, or not racing, but the Chocobo challenges, and there's also dodging 200 lightning bolts. So that's why it's only number 5 on my list.
I was going to say, are you sure you like this game?
I do like it, except for those few things. I mean, it's not a complete grand slam. I love it, but not above a number 5.
Very nice. Donnie, what is your number 5?
So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I've got 2 that I could not choose between. Both have exceptional.
Cheater.
Yep. Once a cheater, always a cheater. And they're both, the replay value on these things is so phenomenal that to this day, even if I beat one, I can still come back and play it the next day. One is Super Mario World. Love it. Mm-hmm. Favorite platformer. One of my favorite platformers of all time. But its rival, its counterpart, is Donkey Kong, which is another platformer, which has exceptional replay value because of the fact that you can try to beat your high score. So that's my number 5.
But Donkey Kong sucks.
What?
I was quoting Billy Madison here.
What did you say?
You know what? You suck.
Slap fight. Ryan, what about you? What's your number 5?
So this one might be a surprise for folks, but I'm actually going to go with a game that was created by Bullfrog in 1994, and that is Theme Park. And I guess that would technically be Business Simulator.
That's a genre.
Oh my God, You're boring sometimes. I love you, but you are boring sometimes.
I really loved Theme Park. It was a really unique game at the time. There wasn't a whole lot out there that rivaled it. And even though, Roller Coaster Tycoon has come out since then, and there's been a bunch of theme games, this one really resonated with me. I spent hours playing this game, building new parks, trying to figure out ways to, bring in more customers. And man, there are so many cool little elements to it. I mean, you can watch people on the rides, you've got to bring in a mechanic and all this good stuff. And it was an experience as a kid that I won't forget.
Very nice.
That I'm boring.
Whee!
All right. So why don't we roll into number 4? Blue, start us off.
So number 4, this was tough for me. This is where I went with like open world action games. My top 3 are easily Breath of the Wild, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Ghost of Tsushima. So which of those do I put on the list? I spent over 100 hours in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I dismissed Breath of the Wild because I had so much fun in that game, but I really didn't give a crap about the story. Ghost of Tsushima is a beautiful game, and I adore it, and I loved the story, but I eventually went with Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I spent double the amount of hours in Odyssey that I did in Ghost of Tsushima. So, AC Odyssey it is.
Nice.
Interesting.
Donnie, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is a well-known game called Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Oh, great choice.
This is a game that no matter, I could pick it up any given day, start off with just Glass Joe and have such an amazing time taking on the easiest character in the game, which some people can't even beat him, taking him on and seeing if I can...
I understood that reference.
There you go. Seeing if I can knock him down in world record time, taking on any of the fighters and seeing if I can knock him down in world record time. And hell, just trying to get back to Tyson or putting in the code, getting to Tyson and see if my nerves will calm down enough to let me beat him again and again. It's still very challenging and exceptional replay value.
Excellent.
What about you, Ryan? What's your number 4?
So number 4, I was thinking about like a run and gun style game. The 2 that stuck out to me were both Mega Man games. And one of them was Mega Man 2, and the other one was Mega Man X. And I was like flip-flopping between the 2. And then I kind of settled with Mega Man X. Mega Man 2 is fantastic. But Mega Man X, because of the opportunity for you to really upgrade your character, it's a complete game. And honestly, when it comes to the soundtrack, I don't think that there is another game out there in the Mega Man universe that beats it. Mega Man 2 is close, don't get me wrong, but Mega Man X is just that rockin' theme. There's so many good soundtrack elements to it, and it's just you're not fighting against Dr. Wily anymore. So now you've got a new character that you're going up against, and I hadn't beat it until maybe a year or 2 ago through RGB High Score, and man, what a ride that was. Watching other people play it and then getting a chance to beat it myself was super fun. So
I had never even played it prior to that.
Oh, really? So that was your first foray?
That was my first foray into Mega Man X, and to actually to beat it during the RGB High Score was yeah, I like that.
Love it. All right, on to number 3. Blue, what do you got?
In the 80s and 90s, platformers meant you go from left to right and you jump on stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is my slot for a 90s style platformer, and I went with Super Mario World. Even now, I'm having an inner battle over whether it should be Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World. Normally, I would say Super Mario 3, but when it came time to write it down on my list, I was like, I can't. My hand wants to put Super Mario World, so that's what I went with. But you ask me tomorrow, I'll probably say Super Mario 3.
Nice. All right, Donnie, what's your number 3?
My number 3 in the action adventure genre was a little game that came out in the mid-2000s, and it's known as Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Good
choice.
You're in the 80s in Miami, and they've got all of these great songs like Laura Branigan's Self-Control. I think Flock of Seagulls was on there too, Little George Michael. And I mean, I could sit there and drive around Vice City in whatever, in a little scooter, in a sports car, in a monster truck, in a plane, and just drive. I didn't have to do the missions. I didn't have to pay attention to the story. I could just drive and listen to the music. The weather would change, and I was happy. That game makes me exceptionally happy with its soundtrack.
I love that game as well. Great choice.
Thank you. What about you? What's your third?
So I went with a first-person shooter for this one.
Okay.
And I've got a lot of fond memories of it, but also really enjoyed the gameplay. I'm going to go with Halo 2. I played a lot of Halo back in the day. prior to that, the first Halo, you could play online, but you had to connect it to your computer, and the lag was terrible, and you had to find like matches against other people who were playing on the same service that wasn't connected to Xbox, so it was also sketchy. But Halo 2 comes out, and they've got the online multiplayer, and there are so many different styles of matches that you could engage in, and it was just so much fun. I mean, I would spend hours and hours with friends doing LAN parties and all that stuff. So Halo 2 is also the first game that I camped out for as a midnight release.
Nice.
So got a lot of sentimental value, but the gameplay as well is super fun.
Of course.
All right, Blue. Getting down to the nitty gritty. What's your number 2?
You're right. It is the nitty gritty. Number 2, I went Metroidvania, and you all know what that means. That means it's Hollow Knight time. I adore this game. I have played it through several times, and every single time it's just a joy. I love the exploring. I love the music. I love the world building. I love the gameplay. It's so challenging and so fun, and I cannot wait for Silksong, so it is my number 2.
Fantastic choice. Donnie, what's your number 2?
Nice to meet your number 2. My number 2 is in the RPG genre, which I know your heads are exploding at that statement, but it's a little different because it's a fantasy action role-playing game. And it's a little game called Shadowrun for the Super Nintendo.
Ah, okay.
Yes, the cyberpunk fantasy action role-playing game that I just got lost in back in 1993. I think I was 16 at the time, and I was going through a little tough point in my life, and I remember renting this from the video game store and actually having it overdue, and then going back and checking it out again just to see how far I could get, and just getting kind of lost in the whole mythos of Shadowrun. That was like one of the first games I think I remember of having to farm, just constantly kill enemies, leave the scene, go back, kill them again, trying to get more money and all that stuff to buy the upgrades and everything to be able to progress through the game. But Shadowrun is near and dear to my heart, and it's my all-time number 2.
Very nice.
What about you, Ryan? What's your number 2?
I'm going to go with a strategy game, and probably no surprise to anybody. But this one is StarCraft. I played so much StarCraft back in the day. I was a fan, of course, of Warcraft 2 and 3. And when StarCraft came out, it was just such up my alley. This idea of space involved with the same gameplay that I liked from Warcraft, it was perfect. And then the online multiplayer aspects to it were fantastic. Spent hours and hours and hours on it. Still try to get back and play it every once in a while. It's still on Battle.net, so you can play with friends if you want to. But StarCraft has had such a profound impact on me. And I'll be honest with you, before I got back into collecting for video games, that would probably have been my number 1 choice.
Nice.
Very nice.
All right, Blue.
All right.
Here's the big one.
Here's the big one. Probably those of you who've been following along, this is not going to be a surprise because it's the only one I haven't mentioned yet. For my number 1 game, I am going Mario Kart 8.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
I know. I love Mario Kart. Though I usually say that Double Dash is my favorite game in the series, Mario Kart 8 is essentially the culmination of the series in that it's brought forward a lot of the tracks, a lot of the characters from the previous games. But the thing that really sets it apart is the online play. And I love playing online with friends. I love playing online in lobbies with people I don't know. I checked today. I've got over 300 hours on my profile in the game. Dang. And then we also play on Mr. Blue's profile, and he's got about 200 hours on his. So we have gotten our money's worth out of this. It is the online play that gives it such longevity. And so that is why it's my number 1.
Fantastic.
Great choice.
All right, Donnie, let's hear it. What's your number 1?
My number 1, this may or may not be a surprise to anyone, seeing as how as I talk this game up quite a bit. One of its famous taglines, "Would you kindly?" This game is BioShock. BioShock, when it came out, I was floored, blown away just by the video trailer. I love the darkness of it. Then I started becoming more intimate with BioShock, getting to play it, the ambiance, the sounds, the settings, just the story. The story alone, it's a story in choice. the key word of would you kindly, every time he asks you to do that, basically you're driven to do it. So yes, you're progressing through the game, but it's making you think that you had no choice to do so. And every couple of years, I'll pick it back up and I'll play through it. It's like a good book. And if they ever came out with this game in a VR setting, I would go crazy. I would get lost in rapture. Can you imagine having a splicer coming at you in VR? I would literally shit my pants, but I'd still be playing the game.
Well, and that's what people want from a stream.
BioShock is hands down my number one game of all time.
Nice.
All right. What about you, Ryan? Number one.
Yeah, it's absolutely no one's surprise.
Gee, I wonder what's coming.
Yeah.
Splatoon?
Splatoon 2.
Ooh.
Kidding. Chrono Trigger.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
There's the punchline.
All right. Of course, Chrono Trigger has really captured me the minute I started playing it. It's a game that I play every December, except for this year, interestingly enough. But it's got so many great elements to it. The combat system is really unique. The story is fantastic. It utilizes time travel in a way that makes it not a gimmick, but almost like it's a part of the story. The characters are relatable. The story elements are interesting and fun. The choices you make impact the story, and it's just an immersive experience. And I would encourage anybody, if you're looking to get into retro RPGs, to give it a try. It's probably one of the best. And oh yeah, music is fantastic. So not only is that, it creates a really, really fun environment. And honestly, the last time I played it, I ended up going into the marketplace and just playing that for 4 hours. And that's just like the first part of the game. Because you can kind of get lost in it. There's like little fun games to play. So it's fun. It's something that I will continue to come back to and love it. I've gotten all the endings and I still like it. So Chrono Trigger's the one.
Nice.
One of these days I will give Chrono Trigger a shot.
And I will give BioShock a shot.
Oh, okay.
And then Ryan will not give Hollow Knight a shot.
Nope.
It's a big fat no.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed our top 5 lists for our favorite games of all time. We would also encourage you, when we provide our tweet on Friday, reply with your top 5 games and tell us why. We'd be interested to hear what you have to say.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you for listening to episode 74 of Gamers Week Podcast, and a big thank you to the Retro Game Club Podcast, the Leadist Podcast, and Love Retro BTW for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC, email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com, watch us on Twitch at twitch.tv/GamersWeekPodcast. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. And finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you next week.
So is Taco Bell going to release a cinnamon twist with Frogger on it?
No, it's going to be a chalupa, obviously.
No. If you want one that's bigger so you can get the screen bigger, it's definitely going to be a Crunchwrap Supreme.
Or a Mexican pizza.
No, they keep taking the Mexican pizza off the menu. It will totally be a Crunchwrap Supreme.
Well, that would make more sense, though, if they take it off the menu. It's a limited time thing anyway, right?
And it's gone. Good night, everybody.
Yep. Good night.
Good night.
Tell me why. Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple, and I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VD-STDs things, right? Make you fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
That was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.